You're watching this week's show with Dan and Mike.
It's this week's show.
Hello.
Hi. So this week, one of our new things for 2025 is that we're going to do like an album review each of something quite recent, quite fresh.
Yeah, like on the radio show, we're promoting the new music, and this is the first single from the new album that's coming in a couple of weeks' time. And then we only really talk about the album if another single comes our way for the radio show. Well, it's like at the end of the year, we do a rundown of our favourite albums of the year. And most of those we discover through our very own radio show.
Because I will completely admit to the world at large that if I didn't do the radio show, I would still be listening to The Poison by Bullet for My Valentine.
Ain't that the truth?
And that's why I love doing what we do, is I've discovered one of my favourite bands, Imminence, through this. I have embarrassed myself time and time again by having no idea that somebody's back. And like done a comeback, and Mike's like, no, we're playing them this week, in a way. So this is actually also a little bit of an insight as well to what we really do like ourselves. So we've both chosen an album.
An album that's, well, going forwards, it'll be something that's come out in the past sort of like month or so.
Yeah.
Whereas the past month for this show is sort of takes in about November, because the industry shut down for a month and there was no new releases, and there's only been a couple of proper new releases this year, one of which I've picked.
And the November thing is to capture my album, because there is one which I find interesting just because of what's going on at the time with the band. So I think that would be something fun to talk about.
And we are going to be doing what's the best way of doing it? A classic album, but not classic as in the normal kind of classic. We've stipulated that it can only be an album that came out in this millennium.
So we actually thought long and hard about what we've chosen, and then we're both going to chat about it. And so you make sure that you stay tuned. We don't agree. We normally agree, but we don't agree on this. So this is going to be quite a fun chat when we get to the classic album as well.
But also going forwards, we are going to leave our classic album discussion in your hands. So there will be a poll on our social medias between two albums coming up in the next week or so. That we've picked a classic album each. Then we'll put it out to you, and you'll vote on the socials. MikeJamesRockShow.com is the best place to find all the links to everything. And then we will have about a week or so to listen to the album each, and then discuss it on the next album show.
Yes. So who's going first?
You can go first.
Right. So,
what album have you chosen from this year?
Only because I need the release date. I don't have that type of recall. So on November 15th.
Oh.
And this is where it gets a bit controversial. As I Lay Dying released Through Storms Ahead.
Okay, controversial band.
Yep, so...
But it is definitely on brand. Not that you're controversial, it's just you like their band.
I have always liked that sort of second generation of Bay Area thrashers. That includes everything from Lamb of God to Kill Switch to God Forbid.
It's New England, isn't it?
Shadows Fall, all of these types of guys. And As I Lay Dying is part of that. They also do see things like feature on the Zen of Screaming, and a lot of people like myself learn how to actually do vocals from the Zen of Screaming. Make sure you check Melissa out, you can just, it's Zen of Screaming. There'll be links below for the stuff we talk about.
And up there as well.
Yeah. So the reason I chose this one is they had to launch it 2 weeks maybe after everybody but Tim Lambesis left the band.
it was epic, wasn't it? Like, big album coming, yes. Promo, track, promo. We'll do this interview, we'll do that interview. Actually, none of us liked him anymore, so
we're all out the band. And we on this show, I'm not going to say why, we have no idea.
I have no idea, it's up to them.
We've only read press releases, and we're not actually here to do that type of gossip. What I do want to say about the album is I loved the return of As I Lay Dying with Shaped by Fire, and Through Storms Ahead. If you're looking for that sort of architectsy, harder sound of metalcore with a lot of classicist stuff, like there's solos on quite a few tracks. There's tracks where there's no singing, so it's like more hardcore, deathcore style. I still think that As I Lay Dying put forward a very good, varied album, and also one of our sort of favourite people just to watch because he's quite entertaining at the moment. Alex Terrible features on it as well.
Oh yeah.
And we love Alex Terrible. So,
but to be fair, when you said you were picking this album, I was like, I didn't really give it much of a listen last year. I might have listened to it once, so I listened to it once again this year. Got to get those numbers up.
Oh yes.
And it slaps.
It's so
slaps harder than Will Smith. That's an old joke, sorry.
Yeah, no, but you might get an Oscar for it, you never know. But yeah, we do love a bit of metalcore on the show. If you've been listening to the show or the YouTube channel, you'll know that it's sort of a personal like that me and him both meet on a lot of the time. But I thought that that would hook you in a little bit more because it does have that sort of slightly more hardcore deathcore element.
Yeah.
Whereas
it gave me the excuse to go back into it.
Exactly.
Which is why we are reviewing it of sorts now, so that you, dear listeners and watchers, can go and investigate yourself, or even deep dive into their back catalogue, because they've got some bangers.
Yes, and you can deep dive into the history as well whilst you're doing it and find out why we're a little bit like, we're not talking about personal views with this one, do you know what I mean?
It's all about the music, man, as it always should be.
Exactly. And I'm very chuffed that Mike has chosen what he's chosen for his album of this sort of album review show.
Oh, what, you mean an album's actually come out this year?
It has come out this year. And
a few days ago.
I won't lie and say I've listened to the whole thing. I managed to get like 3 or 4 tracks in. But Mike would know that for me is actually quite astounding that I did that.
That is, especially for the style of music, because you're not I wouldn't say you're the biggest of rock kind of.
No,
you are a metalcore, new metal kid, like myself. But I went for Tremonti's new album. If you head over to our socials and our website, you will be able to hear an interview that I did with Mark Tremonti.
Yes.
That was on the most recent, last week's radio show, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Links to that are always below. You can always find our radio show. That is 2 hours of new music and at least one interview. Make sure that you find that on the link below. But yes, Tremonti. So
Tremonti's album is called Tomorrow We Will No, that was the track, sorry. That was the one of the standout tracks that I was talking about. The album itself is, I forgot what it's called now. The End Will Show Us How.
Yes.
Which is a bit of a mouthful. But from the opening riffs, you know it's Mark Tremonti.
Yeah.
He's got that standardised guitar tone that you would recognise from Alter Bridge and from Creed that he used to be in as well, and he's now back in Creed again, and last year was their most successful year ever. Their tour they did, and they didn't tour everywhere either. It just dollar.
And a little Creed side note, because one of the places this goes out is YouTube. When I was about 15, 16 years old, with my youth leader at church, edited the worst video depicting Jesus' life, and particularly like the crucifix, to My Sacrifice by Creed. And to this day, this is why I'm mentioning this, ladies and gentlemen, to this day, that is still the video that I've put on YouTube that has the most amount of views.
Even more than Princess Howard.
Yeah, even more than that.
Days.
So
that's another story for another podcast.
Yeah, well, I may be able to dig out the reactions to it. You never know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I love Creed from back when. Happy they're back. I would actually go and happily watch them if I could do an interview. So because an interview would be amazing.
It would be. Scott State.
Yeah, and he actually, I remember, I think it was Twitter when we played his return track of Him, which precursed the Creed stuff. We put like a little something out saying thanks, and
we got some social media lovage.
Yeah, no, I think he liked our tweet, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Scott Stapp.
Yeah.
I mean, he has literally fallen through the sky for like 5 minutes in a music video. That's impressive.
It is. But going back to Mark Tremonti, who's his bandmate,
yes,
the album it's a proper slice of rock music. Mark is constantly busy with either Alter Bridge, the Tremonti Project, obviously Creed, and he does shows last year. He was doing shows highlighting Frank Sinatra, where he sings and plays Frank Sinatra tunes,
which is incredible.
You know, Mark does it his way.
Yes. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. So make sure that you do check that out. We'll probably leave a link to that as well below. At least Tremonti's YouTube channel and As I Lay Dying's YouTube channel. That will definitely be done.
Yeah.
But let us know in the comments what you think of our album choices. Let us know suggestions for the poll that we talked about. We do choose an album each, but we do look at the comments. So what do you think post 2000 you would now consider a classic?
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
There is an awful lot of them, ladies and gentlemen. The problem is from that era we have very similar likes. At least most of the time. We managed to choose one now that we don't agree on. But shall we get into it?
I'll just wrap up with the Tremonti album by saying the track The Mother, The Earth and I, which I believe was the first single from it, is absolutely outstanding. I think that
is a track recommendation.
That is quite possibly the track of the album for me. Like I said, the album's only been out a week or so it's all still quite fresh.
Yeah, that is the Mike James of the Mike James Rock Show seal of approval.
Guaranteed.
So
our classic album. Here we go. So it's a band that we both absolutely adore.
And I got to admit, they have themed my entire radio career in so many ways. Like, this man has ribbed me for, it's going on 10 years now for that particular interview, isn't it?
touchy interview. We are talking about Parkway Drive.
And Parkway Drive had a huge start. So we decided that we were going to just focus on that huge start, because they did an EP with I Killed the Prom King that didn't get sort of past the sort of normal Australian echo chamber.
Yeah.
But then...
Local famous.
Yes. But then, Killing with a Smile.
It came out on the 12th of September 2005. It makes it 20 years old.
I actually, genuinely, I still feel like that came out only a couple of years ago. Even though I know they've released so many albums since then, I'm still like, no, that wasn't that long ago. What are you talking about? And when we chose this, I was quite happy because I genuinely love the album anyway, so I knew I could talk about it for a while. But Mike's found out some stuff which I had forgotten about who produced it.
Yes. For a debut album, they had Adam D of Killswitch Engage produced the album for him, and then it came out on Epitaph Records, which is a huge label for a debut album. It's great.
According to Wikipedia, so this is not necessarily true facts, but it's Wikipedia facts, it's the only album to feature bassist Sean Cash.
Yeah, I believe so.
They've had a relatively similar lineup for a lot of their career.
They have had a few changes here and there, but by and large, they've stuck to the same outfit for quite a period, and then slight little change, and then it would be a long period with that lineup.
Yeah. So,
you want to know where the album was recorded?
Why not?
It was not recorded in Australia.
Was it not?
No, it was actually recorded at Adam D's studio, funny enough, in Massachusetts.
I mean, that does make sense after what we just said.
Yes, it does.
Now, having followed both Killswitch and Parkway for a long time, I happen to know that Adam D has produced a lot of Killswitch's stuff. I also happen to know we got interviews to back this up that you can find on our YouTube channel if you just scroll backwards quite a fair amount, is Howard Jones at one point hated Adam D for the fact that he was the worst person in the world to work with, because he's so demanding at that point in his life, just completely focused on getting the best out of people. But then Howard did say that nobody has ever made him sound the way that Adam D did on the stuff that they produced together.
Yeah, and they're working together again now.
Exactly.
It's cool.
What makes me smile about this is one of the things I thought getting back into this album, with the amount of screaming music that we've listened to over the years, the range and the clarity on an album that doesn't have anything apart from clean spoken word. There's no singing, There's no electronics. There's nothing like that. It is
a debut album.
It is screaming through and through. But the vocal range of Winston 1 is insane for a first album.
Winston 1?
Winston 1.
Winston 1. On the second album, Winston 2.
I was going to say, but no, for 2, the production makes sense because it was R&B.
Yeah.
But his range is just insane. Like,
it's definitely an album that shows what they were capable of and what they could become and what we all know now as they have become. For me, not their greatest album.
I was very surprised when he said that before we recorded this. I was
when we decided on this album, I was like, I haven't listened to that in a decade. They don't even play stuff off it that often live anymore.
Whereas I was like, I've listened to this within the last 3 months.
But that's how it goes. You want a balanced approach. Yeah, my favourite Parkway album, I think, is Deep Blue Horizon.
I mean, Horizons is a stunning second album.
Yeah.
The one that got them sort of noticed and some people disliked, I'd say, was Atlas.
Yeah.
That's where they started stepping away from everything. Then they did...
But that's the one that took them more overseas, I think.
Well, it started getting them higher and higher up in billings. Because I remember when I first got into them, they were only on like 1 or 2 albums. There's this like show that I watched that was just weird because some bands were stuck in traffic. So Architects were meant to be main support to Parkway Drive, but Architects came out as a second band, did their full set to give the other bands time to turn up.
And who else was on that lineup?
Well, it was Parkway Drive, Cardiff X, Despised Icon,
Architects,
Parkway Drive.
There you go. So that's a stacked lineup.
And they were headlining even on like their second album against Architects then. It's arguable who's bigger currently out of Architects and Parkway.
Oh,
like
I'm
both killing it.
gonna edge it and say Parkway, knowing that they are headlining more stages around the world than Architects. Architects, I believe, they've headlined Bloodstock, which we were at, but I don't think they're headline stage at the moment on anything else outside of the UK. I think they're either like main support.
Yeah.
Or
they've done a few headline runs.
Yeah, they've done headline runs, but I'm on about festival lineups. They're not a festival headline mainstay, should we say? Whereas Parkway have been a mainstay, and I think Parkway will be a good bet in the next 3 or 4 years as a headliner for Download.
I was going to say because Architects have just come off of headlining Bloodstock in the UK this year. Last year, sorry. Forgotten the year's change. But I'm not sure that we would see Parkway doing that at this stage in their career.
No, they did Bloodstock pre-pandemic.
Yeah, I think it was.
But it was because it was the years that we weren't at Bloodstock, and you were like, oh, should we go to this to see Parkway headline? It's like, we can watch it all online, ain't we're going to
Boomtown we went, and it was a lot of fun.
It was, that's a whole other podcast in itself.
So my 2 notable tracks that I have held on to from this album, from the 2005 it was released, and I still like they're in playlists, like workout playlists or PMA playlists, whatever. They're regular features is Pandora, which is not like a fan favourite as much as Romance is Dead. That is such a banger still. Like listening to them on the car on the way over, it's amazing I can still talk because I tried to be Winston.
Whereas standout tracks for me are off the other albums. I listened to this album just to try and get back into it because we were going to talk about it, and I was like, it's playing. But nothing stands out to me that I could remember from when it came out 20 years ago. You know, sometimes you listen to an album when it comes out, and then 20 years later you'll listen to it and you'll still know
the tracks, the
big tracks, or every single word, depending on which Korn album I'm listening to.
And I couldn't tell you what Korn album has the most popular tracks on it. I don't even know the name of Korn albums. Whereas
besides Korn, or Korn 3, sorry.
What?
No, we're talking about Parkway.
Also, I don't know the reference. Like, do they have a self-titled?
I believe so.
Okay, it's cool.
Well, it's Korn 3. We're not talking about corn.
Yeah,
My head is full of Parkway at the moment.
Also, what we're going to do is make sure that to see the little bit of history that we have with this band as well. Once we're done there chatting, I'm going to do like just a couple of the highlights of me interviewing Winston over the years, including what he has ribbed me for over 10 years. I will put the most embarrassing thing I've ever done in an interview online again. It's gone on many times because I can't live this down. But I will also cut bits out of the other interviews because we've done like 3 or 4 with Winston over the years.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we might next time they're in the UK be able to sit down and actually do like a little bit of a podcasty chat.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So, I guess we've got to kind of wrap up now.
I think that's it for our first album review. We have a whole new show coming next as well.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to these new formats. It's definitely got me buzzed for basically doing the show again. Christmas break was good, and now we're back to waffle at you for a year.
Minimum. But in the meantime, once you've watched, as you've just watched this, get involved in the comments below, like, subscribe, notification bell. But comments and shares do much more for us.
Yeah, tell us what bands you're interested in. Tell us what tracks off of Killing With a Smile that you particularly like. Give Me a D's also a good one. Can't let that go without saying it because it's just such a good track. So yeah, make sure that you tell us what you think of the albums that we've reviewed in the show, and what albums you think that we should review in the future. And
don't forget to look out on our socials in the coming week, because we will be doing that poll for our next album review, and it's down to you to pick. Should we do 2 or 3 and let our manager? TBC.
Yeah. Check Instagram, check TikTok, check Facebook for the poll.
There you go. Until next time then.
Toodles. Peace! Okay, so this is Dan from the Mike James Rock Show, and I'm here with, well, dude, introduce yourself.
I'm Winston from Parkway. You seem to be freaking out a little.
A little bit. It's a proper idol meeting moment, I'm afraid. So
thanks, lad. Jeez.
I'll try not to touch you too much.
All right. I'm Winston from Parkway Drive. I yell at people.
He's also made the very brave move of wearing a white hoodie to an English festival.
Very, very brave. We'll see who's laughing at the end of the day. Surround myself in fire. That's the way I roll now. Just give me a torch, just wave them off. That's it. Everything's got to be on fire.
Thank you for watching our album review show. We had great fun picking the albums that have recently been on the show, as well as picking out our classic. And as you've just watched, me embarrass myself 4 separate times with Winston from Parkway. We're going to see if we can get me embarrassing myself in front of him again. Make sure you tune in for next week's show, which is a little sum of everything we've done so far, first couple of seasons and what's going on in 2025. What we've done already, what we have planned. We've got so many online interviews, we've got so many in-person interviews, so make sure that you stay tuned for that.